Hey, 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 this is Lisa D. Adams, your seed sowing maven, and where are my sisters at on this wonderful Monday evening? Where are my sisters at? As you can see, we got the guests in. And sisters, just so you know, I'm not only streaming in the group today, I'm out in the public. We coming out on the streets, y'all. We outside. We outside showing out. So where are my sisters at? Come on in the room this Monday evening, a great Monday evening. And do me a favor, let me know who's here in the comments. You know, you have to put your name out there and everything so we can see you, okay? So guess what, y'all? We have a phenomenal guest. Yes, we do. We have a phenomenal guest. Um, Leslie George, the founder and CEO of Mosaic Inc. We're going to bring her right on in her own way, in her own special way, and let her teach us what she going to teach us on this evening. Bring it on in. Come on, Leslie. How
All
are
right.
you?
I am wonderful. Love the energy. You just always have this amazing energy. So I just love it, right? So, first of all, I want to say, Sister Lisa, thank you for having me on your platform tonight. And I hope that I can speak to your ladies and answer some questions. So, my name is Leslie George. As you said, I'm the CEO of Mosaic Inc. And Mosaic Inc. is a female empowerment company. Which the stress is on diversity. When you look at a mosaic tile, you're going to see different colors, you're going to see different textures. And when all of it comes together, it forms this amazing, beautiful tile that radiates all kinds of different colors. And that's how I look at when us as women come together from different
Mhm.
backgrounds, different cultures, different races. We all come together, but as women, we come together, right? So that's really the foundation of Mosaic for me is just seeing women, just a sea of beautiful women. And I call myself the diversity diva. So the D is for determined. I work with determined, inspirational. I work with visionaries that want to stand up and be authentic in their true self. And being authentic in your true self is really bringing in that diversity. Because a lot of times I know for myself, I worked in corporate for several years and I didn't feel comfortable showing up as myself. And when I say showing up
Mm.
as myself, I'm from the Caribbean and I've lived all over the world. I've lived in Africa, different places. And as African American women, we wrap our hair. Well, it took me working at a place for 11 years before I felt comfortable doing that. And
Mm.
so that's another reason why I say all the time about showing up authentically. Because if you're coming to work and you're in the workplace and you don't feel comfortable that you could show up authentically, you're not bringing your whole self to work. And a lot of times employers don't even realize that because what they don't realize is you're coming to work, you're not bringing your true self. So you're not really being 100% productive, right?
Mhm.
Because what
Mhm.
happens is the culture and the environment that you're working in does not lend itself for you to feel that way. So that's why I really stress on, just showing up in your authentic self and just you're lining up with the mission and the vision of the organization. But also remember, as a person, we have our own mission and we have our own
Yeah.
value, right? A lot of times we forget that we do understand that we do have to work. We work because we have to pay the bills. But at the same time, if you're not lining up with an organization that really speaks to your mission and vision, really, you don't really need to be there. And so that's another thing that I stress in terms of being authentic. So showing up your authentic self. So that's
Yeah.
just me in a nutshell.
Well, you know what? Welcome in your
Thank you.
authentic self. So we welcome you here on Holding the Hand of My Sister and to those you are out there just in Facebook land. And so you know what? Showing up as ourselves, being ourselves is important. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry the comments are not allowing us to post it, but good evening. And I will come back after the recording and salute you. Showing up as our authentic self, removing the mask,
Hmm.
just letting us be out. You letting us be our true selves, because so many times we hide.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like pulling that curtain. You know how you peeking around to see who's out there.
Yep. Yep.
So many times we're guilty of that.
Yes.
And we start that before we go to work. We
Yes.
start that with our relationships. And when people say relationships, oftentimes people think it's an intimate relationship.
Right.
It does not
Right.
necessarily have to be an intimate relationship. You could be with a family member right here and uncomfortable with being your authentic you. Whether it is because of something has happened in the family,
Yes.
maybe you don't feel worthy,
Right.
maybe you do not know. Yeah, Tamara says, remove the mask. Let's see, we're going to show it here. Yes, remove the mask. I have talked about the importance of this for us as African American women. Yes,
Yes. Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes, absolutely. And, and that's important. We have to be true to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Mm-hmm.
me.
Yes.
This is
Yeah.
me. Know who you are. Know how you want to feel. And baby, if it's a wrap I want to wear around my head, let it be. Let it be.
Yep.
So I say it like this. My hair like this. I love this big hair. This is me.
Right.
This is me. This big
That's you.
hair. I've had gone to different events and went and got my hair done and stuff like that. And then I got this flat hair. Now, don't get me wrong, it's cute, but it ain't me.
Right. You're not
Then I don't
comfortable.
feel no.
You don't feel comfortable.
Baby,
Right?
when I tell you I be so ready to take that weave out,
Oh.
I be so ready to take it out
Yeah.
because it's not me.
Right. Right.
I went to a photo shoot a while ago, and one of my friends, I said hi. He says, Lisa, I didn't even know that was you because
Oh,
my
right.
hair was flat.
Right. Right.
He's like, I didn't even know that was you. And so if we know who we are, see, once we know who we are, other people can't mistake it because they're not gonna come with all this craziness. If we show up the right way, they're not gonna come with all this foolery.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
may not have all my I's dotted, I may not have all my T's dotted, but if I come up to you like Lisa, and most of the time I am high energized, but hey, on them settled days, because probably when you're getting too comfortable with you, we ain't gonna be too around too long. But on a good day, this is me.
Right.
Shalonda says, we spend too much time trying to impress
Yes.
others. Yes.
Yes.
That's why
Yes.
we end
Yes.
up so disappointed in life. I love what
Yes.
Leslie said. It's time to take the mask off.
Yes.
Amen.
Yeah,
Yes.
I want to say something that Tamara said, where she said, yeah,
I
yes,
agree.
remove the mask. I've talked about the importance of this for us as African American women. That part right there is so crucial, right? Because if we're our sister's keeper and we're showing up for our sisters, I can't show up for you, Lisa, if I can't show up for myself. And that's the one thing
Mm-hmm.
that we keep on fooling ourselves about, right? So that's why we really have to sit in that authentic self of knowing ourselves, because I can't show up for you, right? I may think I'm showing up for you, but I'm really doing you a disservice because
Mm-hmm.
I can't fully embrace. I don't have that type of compassion for myself to show up authentically for myself. So how can I really, really and truly be there for you if you're going through something and you need me? So
Right.
that part right there is so important, right? Because we really and truly have to learn to have that type of compassion for ourselves, to show up for ourselves and realize it's okay. It is okay however you show up today, as
Mm-hmm.
long as you are in your own authentic self. I have a teenager, 16-year-old, and I remember when she was a baby, when she couldn't even talk. So we'll put her like her onesie on, and if it had a tag, oh, that would bother that little girl. She would scream until when she got to the point that she could talk, until when she got to the point that she would rip it out. Do you know still to this day, tags cannot be in her clothes? So we had to, buy clothes that has it, that doesn't have the tag that sticks out. So from the
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
time she was born as a little girl, if we as parents didn't pay attention that this little girl don't want no tags in her clothes, this little girl came here knowing she don't want no tags,
Mm-hmm,
right? Because
mm-hmm.
that bothers her, right? So when, and here's the other thing too, right? So whenever, here's the other part about the compassion part, is that when somebody is in our space and they are showing up as who they are, one of the greatest quotes that I love, Maya Angelou says, when somebody shows you who they are the first time, believe them. Whether it's negative or positive, believe them. So we also have to have that type of compassion that when your friend, you showed up at this party with your flat hair and he didn't know who you were, right? So he's been used to you showing up in your authentic self. So that's the other part to it, is that we have to learn to accept our sisters when they
Mm-hmm.
do show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it may not always be pretty.
No.
It may not always be pretty, but that's how they showing up that day. So receive them. So that's the other
Yes.
part of it.
But you said something. You said something about paying attention. Pay attention. That's what we need to do. Dr. T says, show up and have compassion.
Have compassion. You
Yes.
got to. You got to.
Pay attention. Like you said, the little baby, she didn't like it then, and you all noticed it then. If we can recognize habits when they first start and start paying attention to how things happen, I tell you what, a lot of things wouldn't move forward.
There you
Some
go.
stuff will be nipped in the bud right away
Yep. Yep.
because we've already identified that that's an issue.
Right. Right.
Opposed to it being blown out of proportion, I identified it, I addressed it, now it's over.
Yes.
Because it ain't
Yes.
going no further than here.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
It's not going any further than here. So let's see, how did you get into this?
How did I get into this? So, I'm a military brat. I've lived
Mm-hmm.
all over the world. My dad was in the military. And so, just being exposed to different cultures and languages at a very young age, and I guess that type of compassion and acceptance of whoever somebody was at a very young age, I was able to accept that. And so, I've always said, I want to teach a class on diversity because my dad is from Mississippi, my mom is from the Caribbean. So I've always gone back and forth to the States. And then in the
Mm-hmm.
early 90s, I moved back to the States. And I noticed that it's always this, just like the racial uprising we have right now, it's black or white. And I don't believe it's just black or white. There's so much more. And
Mm-hmm.
also, when I talk about diversity, I even talk about diversity in your household, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
my neighbor could be raising their kids totally different than I'm. So that is diverse, right? So I talk about
Yeah.
diversity, even as your neighbor, even in your community, right? So we all are touched by diversity. It's not just black and white. So for me, I see everything from a diverse lens. So
Mm-hmm.
finally in 2018, I said, you know something? This has been burning in my heart for years, for decades. And I need to just go ahead and start. So, my first event was on International Day of the Girl 2018. And that day, International Day of the Girl and International Women's Day are two special days for me because
Mm-hmm.
my company is about celebrating women. And those are two major days in the year that celebrate women.
Mm-hmm.
So, on that day was my first event. And on that day, I launched my book, which is International Day of the Girl, and that became a number one bestseller within
Okay.
24 hours. So that's really where it started. And I was planning another big event March of this year, and as you know, COVID happened,
Mm-hmm.
so didn't do that. So then ended up in this wonderful online space, meeting amazing women. And to be honest with you, that to me is the blessing for me of COVID, because
Yeah.
I know that if I was still operating in physical events, I would not have met women like you and so many other women that I've met through this digital space. It is absolutely amazing. So that to me is really the wonderful side of COVID. And I'm not talking about people losing their lives or anything like
Right,
that.
right. I
I'm just
understand.
saying that in terms of business, that has this online space has been amazing for me. So yeah, so that's how I got started, because it's just been burning in my heart to share diversity and to share kind of my passion for women, my passion for just really opening our lenses and looking at things from really different points of view. And just realizing that we're all women, right? So we're all women. We have stories. We have so many different things that we've gone through in our lives. And just for me to really help, I'm a huge encourager. So just for me
Hmm.
to really help women just realize that I've always said that we're like this beautiful flower. So
Mm.
I believe that in your 20s, you're just like really closed up. You really don't know much, and you don't really have much navigation of the world. In your 30s, you really start to open up and you kind of understand kind of what's going on. And then in your 40s, you open a little bit more, and in your 50s, and then 60s, 70s. And I think when women are in their 80s, it's like, oh my gosh, it's this beautiful flower that opens, and the aroma is amazing. Because what I've seen with women, especially women in church, is that they feel when they get to a certain age, I don't have any value. And I don't
Mm.
believe that. I believe that I know for me, as a little girl, 6 years old and 7 years old, whatever came out of my grandmother's mouth, I just would just eat it up. I still remember those stories to this day.
Yes.
Every night, I couldn't wait to finish eating dinner, do the dishes and all that, just to sit at her feet because I just want to hear the stories. And so those are some of the things that from my childhood is what I try to bring forward to help women really see their value and to see their place really in this world. The book is really a diverse a compilation of women. My youngest author was 32. The oldest one was 72. She
Wow.
had her first child at 15 and always wanted to write a book. And this lady bawled and cried because she never thought that she would ever be an author. So things like that just really make my heart just really explode to be part of a process. I'm so grateful. I do not take any of that for granted to be part of women's lives. I just love it. So that's really how my journey started.
You're right. All the women are feisty now because you're talking about them grandmamas that say any. Lord help them. Lord just help. Just help. Just help. Because I have some in my life that are quite feisty. I have to pray on them. We have to pray. We have to pray on them. But I agree. The older we get, the more we come into our own. We
Yes,
recognize
yes,
what we like. We
yes,
accept what we like, and then what we don't like, you can keep going with that.
yes,
You could
exactly.
keep pushing with that. Shalonda wants to know, and we're going to answer your question, Shalonda. Want to know where can we find your book? She wants to know
I will
that
send a link.
we're gonna
Yes.
definitely put that out here. I will make
Yes.
sure you have that.
Thank you,
And
Shalonda.
Dr. T says, live your purpose. Thank you, Miss Leslie and Miss Casey. You're so welcome. And
Yes.
we are a part of a beautiful group. All the groups that I'm in are beautiful. So holding the hand of my sister, those are my babies. I think it's like 178 of us. We've been
Nice.
I think we're in our third year, moving up to our fourth year.
Nice.
Strong.
Nice.
So, and we meet here every Monday night. So I love them. Whoop, whoop. And Charlene says, I thank God that I realized my values today. I was burned up from the floor up. But oh my God, talking about a testimony. This one here has a testimony so powerful. And
Mm,
I was doing amazing things with her. You know, you ain't the only one that had to coming to their own, Charlene. A lot of us was burnt up from the floor up. Some of us
and
can
and
still use
and
hugs to get up.
yes, and here's the other thing, right? So the other part to that is, because I also have a 25-year-old, and one time we're talking, we talk all the time, but I always want to get a perspective from a millennial, as we've been using
Hmm.
that term.
Yeah.
And she says, something, mommy, what I admired the most is I was working at a job and you had some women that were in their 50s, and what they would do is they would mentor us. And I said, that's huge, because a lot of times you hear this word millennials, millennials, millennials. And what I've always said is, we were in our 20s at one time, right? And we would have loved to have mentors to help us. But I think these young people now, they really get a bad name, and maybe they don't know how to articulate that they need a mentor. But just like I'm saying, the women in church and the older women in their 70s and 80s, they have something to depart in our generation. And I think for us, we have the same responsibility to take it back down, because I look at this as a relay race, right? So as I'm going forward, I'm stretching my hand back, because
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
stretching, because here's the thing, right? I look at it that there is nothing that Leslie can do that's all that great, right? I look at it that I am a pass through. So things are supposed to pass through me to get to somebody else. If it can't pass through me, if it's all about me, I don't want to be part about it, right? And there's here's the funny thing. A lot of people say, well, Leslie, how did you do your first book as an anthology? I said, because I just believe in team. For me, bring
Hmm.
on more people. I didn't think that it was a big deal to do an anthology book with multiple people. You had to come out with your own book as your first book. I didn't even know there was rules to that game, right? Because for me, I believe that everything is about team. Everything is about raising up another woman. If I can't help raise up another woman, encourage another woman, what am I sucking up air for? Like for
Right.
what? I don't. That's no fun for me. No fun for me.
Hmm.
So it is a relay race. As I'm moving forward, I'm supposed to deposit back so that they can do the same thing.
Man,
That's how I see it.
Charlene says, I love this. Y'all have me in tears. Thank y'all so
Oh,
much. But
much love, Charlene.
I agree with you. I've shared this story with holding the hand of my sister often. Um, on a trip to Jamaica, we were doing the waterfall. And the thing with the waterfall, we had to lock arms. And everyone, when you go up, you was responsible for the person behind you to pull
Yes,
them up. And that's how I
yes,
see us. We
yes.
are responsible. And even for our younger people, sometimes there's a disconnect, but God
Hmm.
would do it. God would connect those who He finds that needs to be connected. He
Yes.
did it for me. He did it. I have a
Amen.
mentor, and I love her dearly. And he did that connection for me.
Yes.
I didn't have to seek out. He paired us up. And
Divine connections.
right before this live here, I was just texting her. And I think I talked to her maybe about 3 or 4 times a week. But he paired us up. It wasn't a me thing. It was a God thing.
Yes, yes,
So even when we don't agree, we eventually get back on that page because it's a God thing, not a me
yes,
thing.
yes.
And
Totally agree.
that's the difference.
That's the thing. That's the
That's the
thing.
difference.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's the difference. So yeah,
Hmm.
being able to connect with women, we we have to build each other up.
We do. We
We
do.
have to.
We do. My husband said to me many years ago, he says, Leslie, life starts with you guys.
Yep.
Life starts with you. So there is no creature on this earth that's more powerful than a woman. And I said, ooh, you said something,
Hmm.
right? So those are some things that we go through different things. We have different storms, different valleys we go through. But if you know that there's a sister that can speak some life into you, that can
Mm.
help you through the valleys. And I'm not saying we have all mountaintop moments. We don't. I mean, that's a
Mhm.
lie. You know what I'm saying? That's a lie. So in whatever, if we're living and we're working, we're married, we have children, we're gonna have some valley moments. So, but to know that there's a sister there that can help you through those moments to get you to the mountain, guess what? You're gonna repeat it and do it again for somebody else. That's what it's about, plain
Mhm.
and simple. So yeah.
Mhm. And then getting us out of the shame. So many of us, we
Yes.
harbor the shame of our valley.
Mm,
When we could release that shame, when we could release the guilt of
mm,
our valley, then we're doing something. We're showing others that it can be done.
yes.
Now, because whether they want to admit it or not, everybody, and I do mean everybody, have a mountain high and they have some valley low.
Yep.
They have that lay on your belly, crawl
Yep.
moment. Everybody has that.
Yep.
And they
Agree.
lying to you if they say that they have it.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Yep. Yep.
Everybody has it. So to just say, and here's another thing. Your testimony isn't for everyone, but there is one particular person your testimony will bless.
Yes. That's that one person that it needs to
Yes,
pass through you to get to.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's not for that. It's
Yeah.
not. It's
Yeah.
not for that.
Yeah.
Shalonda says, I love the relationship my 26-year-old daughter has with her 8-year-old sister. She invested so much time in her. Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge. And Shalonda, you were a great example of that because she didn't see that as an example of you. That's amazing because she has that right there in her household. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. And
Yeah.
like I said, that's what we do. That's what we do.
What do you think is one of our biggest challenges?
As women,
Yes.
I think human nature, we think that whatever we're going through, it's an isolated situation. We're the only one.
Hmm.
and and that's why the enemy wants to divide. So I think once you're divided and separated, you can't now connect with someone so that maybe you can have a conversation or have a trusted person in your life that you can say, hey, I'm going through such and such. You may be surprised that person may have gone through what you went through. So I think that sense of isolation of thinking I'm the only one. One of the things that I did, I've been in government for several years. So one of the things that I did when I worked for one of the cities is I was one of the social services line. It wasn't part of my job. I eventually made it my job, and I called my line the Hope Line because our city, we didn't have direct funding. If you called and you were homeless, you needed your rent to pay, none of that, right? So I decided that when you call me, you got my number. I was going to make sure when you hung up that phone, I would either get you to a resource or we could strategize somewhere in the phone that if you call because you're looking for water bill, we can talk about it and then you could have allocated some other money to pay that water bill, right? But here's one of the biggest things that I learned when we we're going through the foreclosure crisis. I had men call me crying on the phone, wanting to commit suicide, all of that. And everybody that called me thought that they were the only one. That's
Yeah.
kind of where I learned that lesson. Because when I had men call and because they were so ashamed because they couldn't afford to pay the mortgage. I had one man, he said, they're watching me. I said, they're not watching you. Trust me, they're not. But I'd spoken to hundreds of people over a period of 6, 7 years that by speaking to so many people, I had that confidence so that if you call me Lisa, I could tell you, Lisa, you're not the only one that's going through this. So I could speak to them in that type of confidence to calm them down. And now they can hear me when I can make some suggestions on, okay, we need to do XYZ. So I think isolation and thinking that you're the only one, that I think is one of the greatest one of our greatest issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I
you're not
agree.
this my grandmother used to tell me all the time, ain't nothing under the sun is new. And to this day that rings in my head. My grandma told me that when I was like 5 and 6. Leslie, there is nothing under the sun that is new. We're going through coronavirus right now. 100 years ago, they had this the what is it the Spanish flu. So 100 years ago, the when you went we went through, we weren't here, but they
Mm-hmm.
had it 100 years ago, and we don't know if they had it 100 years prior to that. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
ain't my grandma ain't nothing under the sun is new. So that means don't think that you're the only one that's going through
Amen.
it.
Amen. That is so true. Shalonda said, yes, I still say that today. But yes, that's what I heard that. I've heard that statement often.
Oh my
I am.
goodness, my grandmother. I mean, can you imagine as a little girl hearing that and not understanding? But she
Mm-hmm.
pops up. She's the sea snob, but she pops up in my because I know she's watching me. She walks around with me. She's always there. But it's so funny because when things pop up, I just think of her. I just because as a little girl, I would hear those things,
She
and
instilled something in you.
oh gosh, she did. Oh man, did she? Oh yeah, that I love that. I love that woman. She taught me so much, and the greatest thing that I think she taught me was that type of compassion for older generation. Because I'm 5 and 6. This is my grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
right? So just being that person that just wanted to just listen to everything she said. Everything she said was gospel. I mean, she was the first person to put a
Mm-hmm.
Bible in my hand.
Yep.
And Psalms is my favorite book. So just so many things that she instilled in me. But I really believe the greatest thing is that love for your elderly, right? That I rarely see now, because there's a lot of disconnect. But that is the one gift I believe that she's just given to me, and because of that I pass it down to my kids. And like my girls are funny. You cannot do not say anything negative about their grandmother around them. Do not say anything about their grandmother. Do not. So
Mm-hmm.
it's cute when I see it. I mean, that's my mother, right? But it's cute when I see it because I now see it duplicated again in another generation. So yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Eileen wrote, my grandmother used to sing if I could help somebody along the way. I know what song she's talking about. Charlene is my cousin. Charlene is my first
Oh,
cousin.
okay,
And
okay.
my grandmother used to sing that. And I know for a fact she was one of the first ones to put a Bible in my hand. And you're talking about Psalms. I think the first full scripture that I knew was the 23rd numbers or something.
There you go. There you
Yep,
go.
that was my first scripture that I ever knew it front to back.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's still
So,
that it
so
still hasn't left you.
yes, no, it still hasn't left. It still
Yep.
hasn't
Yep.
left me.
Yep.
And so, yes, 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 yes. Leslie, I thank you so much for coming in, sharing your nuggets with us on this evening. Tell us about your event.
Awesome. So I mentioned International Day of the Girl is a big day for me. So International Day of the Girl this year we'll have to do it virtually. So it's going to be an amazing event. We have a breast cancer survivor that's going to be speaking. She was diagnosed in her 30s with breast cancer. There's a young lady by the name of Pamela Garrison that she's going to talk about your sexy is your confidence, because all of
Hmm.
these things tie into your
That's my girl.
confidence.
That's my girl.
Yes. And then I have another lady. She's a nurse practitioner. She's going to touch on health issues. So it's really a holistic view of just women, right? So we're going to talk about diversity, health, and your confidence, and just really wrapping it up really nice and tightly for women. So it's really informational, but for you to leave inspired. So the objective is that when you leave from our webinar on Sunday, because it's Sunday at 5 o'clock, when you leave, you're gonna feel this. You're gonna have this energy that you're gonna know that you are sexy, you are it. That's your X factor, and you can rock anything. That's really the goal.
Mhm.
So yeah, so we look forward to having you join us on Sunday at 5 o'clock. I will put my web address for the purchase of tickets and my book link and all of that. I will make sure I give that to Miss Lisa so she can go back
I'm
and do
finna say,
that.
if you give me the post, I have no problem posting it. I'll post it on
Appreciate
my
it.
page, and I'll post it in the group, and
Awesome.
then as well as the information for your book. So we
Yes.
want to
Yes.
definitely give them an opportunity to support you and to be
Yes.
blessed.
Yes.
To be blessed by the book. Shalonda says, "I had to give a woman a book to read today. It would be. I think she said it will be Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. Yeah, another
Yep.
powerful,
Love
another
that. Love that lady.
powerful book. A
Yes. Love
powerful
that
book.
lady. Yes.
Yes. Well, I thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I so appreciate you. On Sunday, gonna be ready to rock our it factor.
Yes,
Rock
yes.
the
We
it
are women
factor.
and we are warriors, and we need to go out there confident in anything that you're doing, right? Because why not?
Right.
If not you, who? If not now, when? So we need to go out there and just
Go out
rock
there
it.
and get it done. Go out there and
Go out
rock
there
the
and get it
world.
done. Yes, yes.
Okay, well, thank you all. I really appreciate you all taking the time out to share your evening with us. Leslie was amazing. I will make sure that you all have the information for the conference as well as her book. If not today, you will have it by tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay, so I love you all. Have a wonderful, blessed week. This is Lisa D. Adams, your seed sowing maven. Go out there and sow a seed, show some love, a smile, do something positive to make someone else's day brighter than it was. See you later.
Thank you all.